and we would merge. And usually they'd end up as romantic couples, because when you combined, as a lot of people don't realize, sexuality is about combining Kundalini coding and DNA coding. When you unite with someone, you are taking on part of their codes, and they're taking on part of your codes as far as the template, scalar wave patterns. With gender twins, the progressive coming together as, well, it was originally the divine coupling, the married couple really kind of symbolized that. They were stimulating rapid activation of each other's gene codes. So they would progressively and synchronistically be able to work their way into ascension together. And they would ascend together and end up in density 2 cycles, or higher if they had higher coding. That was a natural way it was supposed to work. With indigos, it's even more fun. I'm going to part of this, but not all of it, because it gets really wild. With indigos, in every vector, they come in with a gender twin. There's a gender twin for every indigo in its own time vector. So they're gender twin pairs, right? Not only do they have the one there in that time vector, they have another set in the inner Earth time vector at the same time, and another set on the parallel Earth time vector. There's that extra inner Earth set of manifestations that goes with the indigo imprint. That's the Ioni Council that regular 12-strand DNA humans don't have to deal with. The twinning event goes back to the Nibiruan dyadic crystal grid. This is one of the nastiest things that was done to this race. Actually, they told me, to me, it was one of the nastiest I've heard of. That means there's a lot more, because they said this was one of the minor things they did to us. Because the incarnational cycles on this planet are, as far as incarnating on the planet, there's a whole set of mathematical relationships that takes place to do that. We come in with our twins, and if those cycles are working normally, we meet our twins at the end of our 12 cycle, and then ascend for regular humans. What they did with the dyadic crystal grid was throw codes in that mismatched and scrambled the timelines just enough where gender twins could not come together. That kept everybody trapped down here. Because if you don't merge with the coding of your gender twin, either here or on the astral, you don't get the final activation where you both become one again to get up to the next level. That's one of the ways they entrapped human souls here, is scrambling the timelines and Earth's grids. So the natural gender twin cycles would not come together. And what they did instead was they tried to pair up humans with Anunnaki to continually hybridize, progressively trying to hybridize us out of our 12-strand potential. With the Ioni Council, it had the same effect. But the thing with the Ioni Council is, being an indigo child has some special features. Not only do you not just have 12 strands, you have anywhere from 24 to 48 strands. Now with the human imprint, the simple 12-strand imprint, the DNA templates of the gender twins polarize from D12, well, from the low subharmonics of D12 down, which gives a real separation of individuality feeling between the gender twins with just human form. With the indigo imprint, the Ioni Council imprint, there's polarization in the strands only from D6 down. There's full bonding and total mirroring of the templates of the DNA from strands 7 and up. It creates a not quite full separation from each other, but allows them to anchor the Kundalini and the Ki-Rishi and other things that if you're totally separated into polarity, you can't. It also creates, when you separate gender twins, a very, very deep pain inside, a biologically felt ache that doesn't go away. If the other is not where it's supposed to be, it can be felt. We've been living under that since 22,500 BC. What is happening now is very special. They're running the frequencies through the grids, and it begins tonight for those who will come, and it ends on January 1st. That will begin to reprogram some of the scrambled timelines, just enough, and we can do this now, and we'll phase lock it and collide. It's going to start putting those natural time cycles back together, descrambling the scrambled timelines, which are going to allow the gender twins to come back into each other's vector. But more than that, it's going to accelerate the process. So even humans that are not in an indigo body, that normally wouldn't, because it's not necessarily their last incarnation here, they wouldn't meet them, they're going to accelerate the lines where they will. If their gender twins aren't here and are in the, have crossed over, they will arrange astral interaction with them. If they don't want to have a relationship with their gender twin who is out here, they will still arrange astral field bonding between them. If people are open to the gender twin thing, first of all, you may actually be with yours. There are some people, particularly indigos, who manage to come through and get through and move through the scramble in the timelines where they actually found the gender twin. So if you're part of a married couple and it's a good thing happening, there's a good chance you may have already found yours as in the Annie Council. That will amplify and get stronger. And whatever bond you have, they told me it'll go this way. There'll be a little clearing of conflict stuff from old patterns, and then there will be an even stronger bond than was ever there before, if you have your twin with you. If you don't, you're one of those rocky relationships that you just know, it's all right for now, but I really have a feeling I'm not supposed to be here forever. It may be the fact that you're still paired with an Anunnaki or a Draconian that you don't belong with. They don't belong with you any more than you belong with them. They can't ascend either that way. Okay? The grids are going to do this on a mass level. They're going to reorder the timelines to start bringing the gender twins back together, both in the Annie councils and in the general human populations. It's going to cause some chaos, I imagine, in marriages and things that aren't real good. If you're not really with the person you're supposed to be with, you're going to find out fast, probably, because it'll kick up all of this stuff that is disharmonic between you. But if you have, now gender twins, this is where the harmonic versus not harmonic comes into. Gender twins share the same DNA template, one spliced into the magnetic, base magnetic, where it's more drawing frequency, which would be female, and the other being its replicate in the base electrical, which would be the male body form. So it's literally, there are men and women on this planet whose DNA templates, the codings and the templates beneath the manifest strands, and which is reflected in the manifest strands, actually have total compatibility. Others have some compatibility. Some have no compatibility. This is where it's kind of funny. You watch science trying to figure out, where does human attraction drive come from? Maybe it's pheromones, Well, pheromones may have a part in the process, but it doesn't start there. Attraction to each other has always been about the DNA template. Our intimate relationships have always been about ascension. And that truth was denied us because of the manipulation that's been here since 22,500 BC and before, some of it. There are some people who will have connection with their gender twin on the astral levels. There are some who will meet them physically and some who are already with them. The reason it's being done is because when you bring gender twins together and begin the fusion of their DNA strand templates, they can hold in each of their bodies 3 times as much energy as either could hold alone. So if they're going to amplify the grid speed to the point where it would basically biologically kill everybody because their bodies can't hold enough frequency, you pair them up with a buddy that has matching DNA template, and you can hold 3 times the amount of frequency, which A, creates immunity to the grid acceleration, and B, makes you a very powerful resource, if you so choose to serve that way, to anchor high-dimensional Merkaba vehicles. If you're a small gender twin coupling where it was just the person from this cycle that you were intended to meet, you'll be able to anchor what's called a holophase Merkaba, which is a 6-dimensional Merkaba. A Merkaba is basically an electromagnetic field in the shape of a star tetrahedron that at its core has something called a form constant space. It's a space, a spherical space that forms inside of these electromagnetic currents, spiraling, counter-rotating electromagnetic currents in the form of a star tetrahedron, that creates reality fields. When you create your Merkaba vehicle, you're literally activating things in the body that create this spherical form constant light bubble around you in your auric field that allows you to pass through stargates without frying. Now, when you bring gender twin couples together, they have the ability to rapidly activate their own Merkaba, accelerating their own DNA strand template activation and such. But they have the ability to start bringing in the frequencies, depending on what their particular coding. Indigos, you put gender twin indigos together, they can anchor the Kundalini, parts of it anyway, depending on if you have 4 years.